The dense pine forest stretched for miles, its towering trees swaying gently in the chilly wind. In the heart of this wilderness lived a solitary man named Elias, a lumberjack whose life was as rugged and straightforward as the timber he felled. The villagers knew him only as a man of few words, with hands calloused from years of hard labor and a heart untouched by love. He had grown accustomed to the hum of the saw, the rustle of leaves, and the echo of his own solitude. Yet, deep within him, Elias yearned for something he could not name, a companion, a spark of warmth in the cold wilderness he called home. His evenings were spent by the fire, staring at the dancing flames, imagining what it would be like to share his life with someone who could understand the silent language of the forest, the poetry hidden in every fallen log, and the rhythm of his solitary existence. One evening, as the sky blushed with the last shades of twilight, a curious announcement swept through the village. A traveling merchant had arrived with a strange proposition. A young woman was available, and she would go to the highest bidder at the market. No one knew her name, no one knew her story, but the merchant promised she was skilled in domestic work, gentle in spirit, and willing to leave her old life behind. Elias, skeptical yet intrigued, found himself wandering toward the town square the next morning. He had never participated in auctions or deals like this, but something in the description, something mysterious about this nameless woman, pulled him forward. The merchant stood atop a small platform, calling out to the crowd, his voice rich and commanding. "And who will bid for a companion who can cook, mend, and keep a home with grace? She is young, skilled, and eager for a new life. Who will claim her?" The villagers murmured, some with amusement, some with genuine curiosity. Many laughed at the idea, while others whispered about the peculiarity of a woman without a name. Elias, however, felt a stirring in his chest. He had no intention of showing off or competing with the other villagers. He simply raised $2, 2 simple coins he had earned from his hard labor the previous week. A hush fell over the crowd. $2. The merchant paused, eyebrows raised, but then nodded. "It is yours," he said. And just like that, the mysterious woman became Elias to take home. The villagers gossiped for weeks afterward. How could a lonely lumberjack claim a woman with just $2? Who was she, really? What secret did she carry behind her quiet eyes? Elias did not care for the whispers. When he first laid eyes on her, she was standing silently beside the merchant, her expression calm, yet thoughtful. She had hair the color of autumn wheat, and eyes that seemed to hold the depth of countless untold stories. She neither smiled nor frowned, simply inclined her head in acknowledgement as he approached. "Come," Elias said softly, offering his hand. "Let's go home." She hesitated for a brief moment, then took it, and together they walked through the forest path toward his small cabin. The trees towered above them like silent witnesses to this unlikely meeting. At home, she proved to be exactly as the merchant had described, skilled with her hands, gentle in manner, and quick to learn the rhythms of the simple, quiet life Elias had always known. She prepared meals from the few provisions they had, swept the cabin with delicate care, and even mended his worn shirts without complaint. In return, Elias offered her the warmth of the fire, his protection, and the beginnings of trust. Days turned into weeks, and an unspoken bond grew between them. She never spoke much of her past, and Elias never pressed. Instead, they shared silent evenings, working side by side in the cabin and the forest. Slowly, the nameless woman began to smile more often, revealing dimples that seemed to hold entire stories of joy and sorrow. And Elias, once a man of solitude, found himself laughing aloud, a sound so foreign to him, yet so natural when she was near. It was during one particularly golden sunset, as they walked along the edge of a clearing, that Elias realized how much he had come to care for her. He reached for her hand, and she did not pull away. Instead, she allowed herself to be guided to the cabin, where the first flicker of romance quietly ignited. But the question remained, one that Elias could not ignore any longer. What was her name? Who had she been before she came to him? One evening, by the firelight, he finally asked, "What is your name?" he whispered, unsure if the question would break the fragile peace between them. For a long moment, she was silent. Then, with a soft smile that illuminated her eyes, she replied, "My name is Leora." And in that moment, Elias knew that the mystery was no longer in her past, but in the beautiful life they could now build together. A life of shared laughter, whispered secrets, and the warmth of love neither had expected to find in the lonely wilderness. The days turned into months, and the bond between Elias and Leora deepened in ways neither could have imagined. Life in the forest was hard, but with her by his side, every task felt lighter, every challenge more manageable. Leora learned to move silently among the towering pines, to chop wood with precision, and even to track the subtle changes in the weather. She became Elias' constant companion, not just in labor, but in the quiet moments that defined his solitary life. Elias, in turn, found himself opening up in ways he never had before. He shared stories of his childhood, of the forests he had roamed as a boy, of dreams he had long buried in the rhythm of his work. Leora listened with rapt attention, her eyes reflecting the flickering firelight and the empathy that had drawn Elias to her in the first place. One evening, after a long day of chopping and stacking timber, they sat together on the porch of the cabin, the sky painted in hues of crimson and gold. Elias handed her a small cup of warm tea, the steam curling into the cool air. "Do you ever wonder what it would have been like," he began softly, "if you had never come to me?" Leora smiled, a delicate curve that seemed to carry the weight of unspoken stories. "I think about it sometimes," she said. "But then I realize perhaps we were meant to find each other here, in this quiet place. Perhaps we needed the forest as our witness before we could trust in each other fully." Elias felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the fire. He reached for her hand, and this time, she didn't hesitate. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had been shaped for each other all along. Winter arrived with a sharp bite, the first snow blanketing the forest in a pristine white. The cabin became their sanctuary against the biting cold. Inside, the fire roared, and the scent of baked bread and simmering stew filled the air. Leora had taken to sewing blankets and repairing old clothes, while Elias repaired the roof and strengthened the walls to withstand the snowstorms. Their lives were simple, yet in their simplicity lay a profound contentment. One night, as a storm raged outside, Elias sat beside Leora near the fire, his gaze fixed on her serene face. "Leora," he said quietly, almost afraid to break the spell of the moment, "I've never known a love like this. You've changed my world, and I can't imagine it without you." Leora's eyes glimmered in the firelight, tears threatening to spill. "And you've changed mine, Elias. You showed me a home I never knew I could have, a place where I belong. I think I love you, more than I ever thought possible." The words hung in the air, tender and fragile, yet full of promise. Elias leaned in, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and pressed his lips gently to hers. It was a kiss that spoke of gratitude, longing, and a deep, abiding love that had grown quietly, steadily, like the forest surrounding them. As the snow fell outside, wrapping the world in a